I'm sure most of you watching this video today know what creepypastas are, including arguably the most famous of them all, Jeff the Killer. But in recent years, many have questioned what the origins of this character are. For centuries, people around the world have been spreading urban legends and creepy myths to one another. Whether you'd like to call them campfire stories or something else, they're usually passed on so many times that no one is quite sure who came up with them in the first place. In more recent times, the internet has been plagued with myths and rumors that are essentially impossible to verify. So it's no surprise that it became the breeding ground for fictitious horror stories attempting to shock and disturb readers. Now known as creepypastas, often these blocks of text are spread quickly throughout forums and websites, due to being easy to copy and paste. Today, it's evolved into an extremely popular online community, with one website documenting over 10,000 individual articles about them. Out of this large pool, however, only a handful of stories have been able to really leave an impact on the reader's mind. Arguably, one of the most famous of these is Jeff the Killer, known predominantly for his washed-out face and maniacal smile. While Jeff the Killer went viral in 2012, what many do not know is that the story that made him infamous had been written nearly a year beforehand. Clocking in at around 4,300 words, the story claims that the reason Jeff has the now iconic appearance was because bullies had lit him on fire and burnt all his skin off. This story is possibly the most well known, as it popularized the phrase "go to sleep," and caught users' attention by disguising its introduction as if it was a legitimate news source. While I will not be reading this incarnation of Jeff the Killer's backstory verbatim, I would like to give at least a brief summary of it. The story begins with a supposed excerpt from a local newspaper, stating that an ominous unknown killer was still on the loose. In the article, they interview a young survivor of the killer's attack who recounted waking up in the middle of the night noticing that his window had been reopened. Suspicious, he closed them again and went back to bed, before seeing a mysterious figure hiding behind the curtains. He had bright, illuminating eyes and a horrendous smile. The figure then pulled out a knife and lunged at the boy. After a bit of scuffling, neighbors began alerting authorities of the situation and the killer ran away. He escaped through the back of the house, and the article ended with a message asking if anyone has any information about this man, they should alert authorities immediately. The tale then transitions into a backstory for the killer as a 13-year-old, Jeff. He had just moved into a new neighborhood with his family as his father had received a promotion at work. At first, Jeff and his brother were happy about the new location. Their new house was a considerable upgrade compared to their old one. Quickly, however, things started turning for the worse as Jeff was forced to attend their neighbor's son's birthday party after being introduced. The day after that was Jeff's first day at his new school. When he and his brother exit from the school bus, they are approached and robbed by 3 neighborhood bullies wielding a knife. Jeff decides to stand up against them after they take his brother's wallet and ends up fighting the bullies. He wins, although ends up running home in hopes of not getting caught. While Jeff was at first very proud about what he had done, the next morning police decide to visit and claim that it was Jeff who initiated the conflict. They stated that he assaulted the 3 children with a knife and that they were found with multiple stab wounds. While Jeff wanted to admit guilt for the attacks out of defeat, his brother jumped in at the last second to save Jeff and was sent to the juvenile detention center. Despite the now very obvious conflict between Jeff and the neighborhood bullies, Jeff's mother insisted that he still attend Billy's birthday party. Her justification was that it could brighten the mood. This was not the case. Once they saw that Jeff was attending the party, the 3 bullies from earlier dropped in for revenge, now armed with firearms. They held the rest of the party's attendees at gunpoint, demanding that they not interrupt their rematch against Jeff. After a bit of back and forth fighting, a dangerous mixture of bleach and vodka was thrown into the mix, ending up covering Jeff's face in alcohol. The bullies took note of this and decided to set him on fire, a move that left Jeff in the hospital. Because his face was permanently damaged from the attacks, he was forced to undergo a dangerous surgery that could both result in his death and require that his appearance be completely redone. Although he survived, his new look after the operation horrified his family, and the realization of what he would look like for the rest of his life caused Jeff to begin losing his sanity. As Jeff descended into madness, he carved a permanent smile into his face with a knife and then murdered his family. The last to be killed was his brother, who was in bed when Jeff told him the infamous catchphrase, "Go to sleep." While many people have heard of this internet urban legend or have at least seen the image, not many of them think about how much the character has been shaped and transformed over the years by Creepypasta's pass-it-on nature. Because of this, it gets very confusing to pinpoint a definitive origin for certain characters, and Jeff was no exception, with many wondering who crafted this story and the picture that goes along with it. The starting point of the search for many began with a since taken down video titled Jeff the Killer Original Story, uploaded on October 3rd, 2008 by the uploader Cesar. This individual claimed that he was Jeff the Killer and that all the other stories about him were fake. He asserted that he had simply fallen into a gallon of acid while attempting to clean out his bathtub. This video seemed to be what sparked the widespread usage of the photograph, as it was very popular at the time of its release. Using a bit of cross-referencing, fans were able to find another account that the uploader had used prior to the video. It was on Newgrounds under the pseudonym Killer Jeff and had been active 2 months before the video's release. This is when he would first post the image of Jeff the Killer on Newgrounds, claiming that he had found it on Encyclopedia Dramatica. The background story he gave at the time was much different than the one seen in the video. He made Jeff out to be a Bloody Mary-esque ghost game where he would sit in a closet cross-legged and repeat, "He's in here with me," 3 times. After you did this, he'd supposedly appear. On September 12th, Cesar posted an early revision of the Jeff the Killer face, showcasing a much more silly-looking figure. Notably, this version of the photo had been flipped horizontally and lacked some reshading. So this explains the origin of Jeff, right? Well, maybe not. In August of 2013, while users on 4chan's paranormal board had begun doing their own research into the image, they managed to attract attention from news sites such as the Daily Dying Gizmondo for some of their findings. Posters who had claimed to be on 4chan in 2008 during the time of the image's creation claimed that the Jeff the Killer image had an even more sinister undertone than many believed. In fact, many stated that it was actually responsible for the suicide of a young woman. Let me explain. Allegedly, in the fall of 2008, a woman named Katie Robinson posted a photo of herself in a closet on 4chan's random image board. She was bullied relentlessly by users for her weight, and the thread was filled with Photoshop spoofs and parodies of her picture. Because she was already in a bad place emotionally, this was all too much for her to handle, and she apparently committed suicide afterward. Some now claim that that Jeff the Killer image was actually one of those parodied pictures of her in that thread. For proof, one person uploaded a screenshot that was supposedly from 4chan in 2008 that said, "Yesterday I found my sister in her room, crying her eyes out. I asked her why she was feeling down and she said it was because she was fat. I became furious, demanding she tell me who was making fun of her. She said she posted her picture on a website called 4chan.org. She continued to say that this website made fun of her and posted shots of her image. This story is very controversial due to its implications and seemingly had no basis in reality. Not only that, but it's impossible to verify whether or not it's actually true. For one, there are no 4chan archives that are able to go back far enough to see when this screenshot had been taken. And two, since the creator said that the image had originated from Encyclopedia Dramatica, the backstory was totally in the realm of possibility. It would take more digging to try to find the truth. Once new leads stopped coming in late 2013, the hype around the search began dying down. Many fans simply accepted the harsh reality of the situation, that is, until December 11, 2015, when a YouTuber named Scare Theater was able to score an interview with Cesar, the creator of Jeff the Killer. In the video, he explains that the photo had been made using a white latex mask with blinking plastic eyes, and dismissed the Katie Robinson rumor, stating he had no idea where it came from. While many remain skeptical, others have chosen to believe him for the time being because no relevant news articles during the image's time frame have ever resurfaced. On the other hand, this happened almost a decade ago when not all news articles were posted online. Also, I was not able to find anyone who could trace back a different origin of the supposed picture of Katie. Because there is no way to prove whether or not Cesar is telling the truth, no one is sure if there is actually a real-life death attached to this image. The notion of there being an even darker truth to such an iconic internet horror figure is a very interesting, although frightening idea. Well, there you have a little bit more information on Jeff the Killer, and while not all of our questions have been answered, the story is still pretty interesting. So until next time, thank you for watching.